Hi guys, Darth Deuces here with another figure review. I actually got a DC figure 2 review for you. And it is the DC Essentials Black Manta. This is from the new, obviously, DC Essentials line of figures. It's DC Collectibles new line that they've started doing. I think the figures are in the either 7-inch or 6 and 3/4 inch scale. I'm pretty sure they're bigger than 6-inch figures for some reason. Well, DC's always done bigger scale than 6-inch for the most part. But yeah, they have this new line coming out, and it's not a line I was like super excited for everything. Not a lot of the figures are super, I wasn't overly excited for many of them, but I was kind of looking forward to this Black Manta. I wasn't sure if I was going to pick up this one because I do have the DC Supervillains, DC Collectibles Black Manta, which is a decent figure. It's pretty decent, but this one has a lot better articulation, and I saw it in store. It looked really cool, so I figured I'd snag it. But yeah, so here he is in the packaging. It's using a much more, I guess, standard DC, or using more of the standard DC Collectibles packaging. It's kind of got that thing going on. We do have the Black Manta logo on top, which looks really cool. You got DC Essentials Black Manta, and you got like a gloss gold, 20 years, 1998 to 2018, DC Collectibles direct from the source. The figure clearly displayed in the packaging with the other figures in the wave and printed on the back of the packaging and behind him. DC Collectibles, he is number 8. Pretty cool image of the figure right there. And flipping around the back, there's just a really brief write-up of the actual line of figures, and these are 7-inch figures according to this. It just says it there, so yeah. You got Black Manta here, and then you got the other figures from this wave, which is Superman, Brainiac, and Aquaman. The previous first wave had Deathstroke, Batman, Flash, and Reverse Flash. So that's pretty much it for the packaging. So I'm going to get this guy cracked open. I'll take a closer look at the figure. Alright, now I have Black Manta out of the packaging, and I'm actually really happy with this figure. He actually doesn't suffer some of the issues that some other figures in this line suffer from. He's really quite good. I actually have to say he's probably one of the best Black Manta figures you can get. They did a really good job. That previous DC Collectible one's still good, but this one's, I think, just much better overall. But it depends on the collector, I suppose. But I'm really happy they did one of my favorite DC villains justice here with this figure. It's really good, and it just shows the potential that the DC Essentials line has. Obviously, this is the only figure from that line I have so far, but a lot of the figures have been showing potential, but are just shy of really hitting, I guess, being really good. But Manta here is quite good. So, taking a look at him, he's pretty simple actually, but he's still really cool. But not too much to talk about, but one thing is obviously his big-ass helmet. I almost have to wonder if it's a little too big. If there's one thing to complain about, it might be that the helmet just seems a tad big on him. But I don't know. That's one thing I guess I might like a bit more on the older one. The older one was a lot smaller. And this one's not super oversized. It just seems maybe just slightly too big. But it's pretty cool. It's got all those nice sculpted lines in it. The red is nice. It's just a bright red. There's no real sculpted detailing. The other one did have that. Again, I'll do a comparison later. But it's a nice bright silver. It would have been nice if these were kind of got panel lined. I'm almost tempted to do it myself, but I think it looks really good. Not really any too many complaints. Kind of wish they could have maybe tried to get a translucent effect going on with the eye lenses, but that's not a huge deal. Now on the back, you do have these hoses here, which are tacked to his jetpack / I guess oxygen tank, and they're very pliable, so you don't really have to worry about these. And there's a decent amount of slack to them, so yeah, you don't have to worry about that. So that's really cool. Jetpack itself looks really good. It has storage for all of his accessories, which I'll get into later. But it does have kind of like the jets there on the bottom, which is cool. And obviously the hoses plugged in. Simple but effective. Looks pretty good. He also got his collar piece here with like the red vents here, I guess, or lines or whatever. Almost look like gills. That looks really good. The paint's pretty clean on it. I can't complain. Then the majority of the body is this really glossy black, which I wasn't sure if I was going to like this or not, but I actually do really like this glossy black. I don't know, it just looks really cool, especially in the light. It just shines really nicely, it looks cool. I like it. There's not really much to talk about. I think the proportions look pretty good. I think the proportions are better than the old one, so that's really cool. Both hands are gripping hands, which is really cool for his accessories. I know this has been a problem with other DC Essentials figures, mainly Deathstroke. I think for the most part, a lot of these figures should be getting, you know, interchangeable hands. It even would have been nice to have some interchangeable, like, closed fist hands for Manta, but this is still fine. I'm not really too worried about it, but other figures should have came with multiple hands. But Manta doesn't really suffer from that as badly. He just have his little wrist thing here. I'm actually not sure what the hell this even is. It looks like it shoots something. I'm not actually sure what it does, but he does have that. So that's cool. It's just painted in silver again. There's really only like 3 different paint colors. They had literally 3 different paints on their palette. They had silver, red, and black. But yeah, you can just kind of see the muscle detail looks pretty good. They got the numbers and stuff, trademark and all that, sculpted on the back, but they didn't paint it, so it's not super obvious, so that's really good. And you got the boots. You can kind of see the sculpting outline of the boots, which look pretty cool as well. So yeah, he's got... He actually does not have peg holes in the bottom of his feet. That's a little odd. So that might annoy some people, but it's not too bad. I don't use stands generally, so it's okay for me. He stands pretty well on his own. Because moving on to articulation, this figure is actually really well articulated. With DC collectibles, it's always a gamble whether these figures are going to be well articulated or not. Manta's really good, and I think every figure in the DC Essentials line has been really good. He has a ball joint in the head. It's okay. It doesn't move fantastically, and it likes to kind of spring up a bit, but he can look down a bit. You can look up just a little bit, and you can rotate it, and he can get some pivot, so that's good. Ball hinges at the shoulders move all the way, or almost all the way at 90 degrees, and rotate. Swivel at the bicep, double hinges at the elbow, which move in really well. Swivel and hinge up and down. I do wish they were up and down like this and not in and out. I think it would work better with his accessories, but it's not a huge deal. Ab crunch, which moves pretty good back, especially considering his jetpack actually does not get in the way of arcing back. So you can actually arc it back a decent amount. Can get him crunching forward just a bit. It's not insane, but it's still a decent amount. Swivel cut at the waist. Ball joint hips that move out really well. He can almost do a full splits, so that's really good. And can kick out all the way, or pretty close to it. Swivel cut at the thighs, double hinges at the knees. No boot rotation, but he does have hinges at the ankles, move up and down quite a bit. And they do have a pivot. They have a pivot there. You can also rotate this hinge joint and get even more of a pivot if you so desire. So he has a lot of articulation, which is really cool, and all the joints are nice and solid. Some of them were just maybe slightly too tight, but nothing was overly loose, so that's really good. So really good articulation. I have no real issues with that either, aside from some minor nitpicks. In terms of accessories, they didn't actually skimp out on Black Manta. With a lot of figures in the DC Essential line so far, they've been skimping out. I think Batman only came with a Batarang. The Speedsters didn't come with anything. Brainiac doesn't come with anything. I don't think Superman comes with anything, but I might be wrong. Aquaman only comes with his Trident. But Manta, for some reason, got good treatment. He comes with 3 accessories. So first off, as you might saw in the packaging, he does come with 2 swords, and these are full-length swords. Usually he has, like, long daggers or something, but these aren't long daggers. These are, like, the length of his arm and then some. Like, these are full swords. So I almost think these might be a little too long. But they're pretty good. They're of a semi-pliable plastic, but I wouldn't bend them too much because they will still probably snap. Just molded in this silver, but they look pretty good. And you can put them in his hand. I've never actually put them in his hand yet, so I'm not sure if he holds them well or not, but it's looking like he holds them pretty good. They go in his hands pretty easily, and he can hold them, pretty well. It works pretty well. And you can, do whatever it is you want to do. They look pretty cool, though, I have to say. I like that. Looks pretty nice. You do have weapon storage, which is always awesome. You can see these little slots here. So you can just actually slot them right in, and then you see them like that. You have them sticking out of the back, but it's pretty cool that you actually get weapon storage. They just slide right out, so it's not like it's tight or anything. I might even be putting them in wrong. I'm not sure. No, I'm putting them in right. You put them in like this. But there's storage there, so that's awesome. And then, like you just saw, you also get his little mini Triton, I guess you can call this. It just slots in the top right here. It's actually quite sharp, now that I'm noticing it. It's very sharp, so be careful with that, but you do get that as well. Let's see if I can get it in his hand here. His hands are not the most pliable. It's kind of irritating. And I'm a little wary about just forcing this. Alright, I got Black Manta holding that little Triton. And once you get in the hand properly, he holds it tightly, nice and tightly, so that is good. I will say, it's a little dinky looking. It's pretty small, especially compared to how it looks in the comics, I think, and also just the one that the original one came with. This one actually, I think, may have some better sculpting, but it's pretty pathetic looking, truthfully. But still, it's pretty cool that he has it at all, so, and that he has storage for it, so that's really cool. Anyways, now we'll move on to comparisons with other figures and whatnot. I will say he does want to fall backwards sometimes. You can't get him standing straight, but you'll have to play around with it a bit. He does like falling backwards just a little bit because of the backpack. First off, I guess here he is with some 6-inch figures real quick. So here he is with Marvel Legends on the Bucky Cat mold Taskmaster. And to be completely honest, yeah, I mean, they're out of scale, but depending on if you do toy photography or whatever, you could make it work. He's not like insanely huge, but yeah, he is a bit out of scale. He's a bit big. Moving that out of the way, here he is with the Black Series figure. Here's with Phasma. Phasma's actually like a taller Black Series figure. It's probably not the best comparison, but even Phasma's pretty big, and Black Manta is just ever so slightly a bit bigger than her. So yeah, he's a bit bigger of a figure. Then some DC, a couple DC figures. Here he is with the DC Icons Lex Luthor. Much bigger than Luthor, definitely out of scale, 100%. And then lastly, I'll compare him to the old one from DC Supervillains. Here he is next to the old Black Manta. I have to say, overall, the new one is much better. I think the accessories are a bit better. The paint, it depends. Some paint, I think the paint on the helmet of the old one is better, but the overall look of the new one's better. The new one, I think, is better proportions for some reason. Just some other things, like the torso was kind of small and almost short-like, and then you had these way long legs, again, like I said. I do kind of like the sculpt of this forearm gear a bit better. I'd like this Triton look better. This guy can store the Triton better than this guy can. He still could, but I actually like the sculpt of these blades better, but I think these blades are a bit more accurate in size, I think. That's a really... So this one does store them a bit better. They sit in there a bit nicer. They won't slide out if you hold them upside down, but that's a really minor detail. This guy did add some nice sculpted detail for the musculature and anatomy, and also had this subtle, like, really, really dark bluish purple paint mixed in with this matte black, but I do prefer the glossy black because it's a much darker black than this one. I think this one looks a lot cooler. And then now seeing these two together, I still think this helmet's a bit big, but I now think this helmet's too small. But I like them both, but I think this one's way better. I do like this one a lot better. Hard to say if I'm actually going to end up keeping this or not. Anyways, let's move him out of the way, put the spotlight back on this DC Essentials Black Manta, and I gotta say, this is a really good figure. DC Collectibles did a really good job on this one. There's not much I would have changed. I really wish we'd see a Black Manta figure at some point have an optic, or not optic blast, but a heat blast effect for his eyes at some point. But that's asking for a lot. This guy actually came with a decent amount of accessories, which I'm a little surprised from the current figures of this line. Really good articulation, good molding and sculpting. I have very few complaints. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, Black Manta figure out there that you can get your hands on right now. So if you're a fan of the character, 100% would recommend picking this one up if you collect this DC figures and you're a fan of the character, fan of Aquaman characters and whatnot. 100% recommend picking this one up. It's a really cool one, and you'll really enjoy it. Anyways, that's my review. Thank you guys so much for watching and bearing with me. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next video.